Hi everyone, today we are back with more of Roottreemania. Sam Madsen just came to our door and gave us a gold mine of freaking information. And there's a lot to read into and I'm really excited. So we're going to start with the company records, 1975. You're given some partial staff records to cross-reference by Sam Madsen. These records are based on old tax mailing information and only detail the employees that work directly for Roottree or their corporate office. The many laborers on their farms and in their factories are not listed. Also, I will go back to this big list of people, I promise, because those are things you have to look up. Well, we'll go here, but I want to go to what this train of evidence is leading me to, and then we'll go back and look into it all. Who is all this? Hold on. Boom, 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 boom. 2 kids. The photo was given to you by Sam Madsen. A woman named Regina Clementine came to her and claimed that her husband has confessed he thinks he's a Roottree. The details of this case can be found in your evidence. Right, because if he's a secret Roottree, then these 2 kids have rightfully should belong in the Clanset Trust and have a claim to the inheritance. Stuart is the older boy wearing a vest. The woman in the photo is Mary Beth Clementine, a singer who may have had an affair with Miracle Roottree. Huh? Oh, no, sorry. So this is Regina. This might be, is that Miracle? And then, so Regina Clementine, this is Mary Beth Clementine. This might be Miracle. Regina's husband is probably one of these boys. Stuart is the older boy wearing a vest. And then there might be whoever that kid. This is probably her husband, Stuart. Okay, so let's write all that down. Sorry, I'm jumping around. I'm excited. Okay, so shoot. Click the wrong button 7 times. Okay, people. So let's look up Regina Clementine. Oh no, well, Mary Beth Clementine. We'll do her first. Mary Beth Clementine may have had an affair with Miracle, had 2 sons, but that we can see. We don't know who, I guess, was Miracle's and who was not. Also, she could be a red herring completely. One of her kids' wife is Regina Clementine, right? Because then if one of her kids' wife is Regina Clementine, because if Stuart was the kid and then he went with Regina and they had any kids, all of their kids would be heirs to the throne. Regina Clementine, wife of a potential Roottree. I don't know. We'll go back and fill that in later. We'll look up all their names in a little bit. Let's go. Oh my gosh. Regina Clementine email. Company records. Oh my gosh. Okay, these records are based on old tax mailing information and only detail the employees that work directly for Roottree or in their corporate offices. The many laborers on their farm and in their factories are not listed. Ugh. You're not sure how helpful it will be except for cross-referencing guys' secretaries and visits overseas. Ooh, spider searching people just because they're listed in these books will likely be very time-consuming and a waste of your time. Okay, likely or not, or like confirmed, shouldn't do it. President, Zach Morden. Special management, Ernest Madsen Jr. Office staff, Edward Roottree, Lloyd, Carpenter, Carl Monroe, Elizabeth Cravenstone. Okay, we'll come back to these later and see if any of this. Wait, Joanna. Joanna Robertson. I see you, girl. Oh my gosh, I see you. That'll help us get last names. Robertson. Joanna, you're Joanna Robertson, I think. Unless there's another John Miller. But Edward Clancy's not in here. Sam Harmon. Okay, so if we see anybody's names, we'll just come and check out all this stuff. In 1977, it was announced that Zach would be retiring, a guy would be taking over at the start of 1978. They held a retirement party in November before spending their final month working on the transition. During 1976 and 1977, the following changes took place. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me slow down. 1977, Guy Hudson has replaced Ernest Madsen Jr. as special management. 1977, Patrick Decker was hired. 1976, Eli C. Roottree is no longer employed. Uh-oh, what happened to you? Oh, is that Eli C. is here? Hold on. Oh, no, Edward was the one who had November. I thought maybe they kicked him out because he got with someone who was a person of color. Because they're racist like that. I don't know. Ernest Madsen Jr. is now listed under product management. Christine Farrow was hired. Joanna Robinson is no longer listed amongst the secretaries, but a Joanna Fellows has been added to the list. Yep, Oh, so that confirms that it's Joanna we're talking about. Joanna Fellows and Beth Knox are no longer employed by Roottree. Oh, that's potentially important. That might have been... the one who they were fighting about. Okay, Christina Farrow is no longer listed amongst the secretaries, but Christine Garland has been hired. She might be important. Married and became Christine. Although, if this only has 2 pieces of evidence, it's gonna be Joanna Fellows' last name and Beth, not Christine. But I don't know. Maybe the Beth is a red herring. We'll find out. John Miller is no longer employed by Roottrees. Gwyneth Madsen was hired. Beth Knox 50-year work anniversary bonus. Oh my gosh. Zach Morton retirement party $20,000. Oh my gosh. $50,000, a lot of money. In 1978, Guy Hudson took over. This began a particularly volatile period in the company's staffing. Many travel expenses were listed, and Guy began trying to develop new 5-piece flavors. The following changes were recorded. Guy replaces Zach. Edward, Elizabeth Cravensworth, and Lloyd Carpenter are no longer employed by Roottrees. Raffertunes is now listed as office staff. Albert Cross and Fred Cross are no longer employed by Roottrees. Christine Garland is no longer working for Roottrees. Beatrice Watts and Corin Schwartz are hired. Juliet and Doris are no longer employed. Louis and Valerie were hired. Thomas, Michael, Elizabeth, Jack Keatings are no longer employed. Emily and Sam Cattrall were hired. Okay. Oh, in these different areas, I guess. But these will help us. We'll come back and if we mention anybody's names, we'll come to this and check if they're there. Because they said to look into men in the position of power, so I'm assuming they probably had affairs with all of their employees. Maybe most of them. Robert Logan is no longer employed. William Sams was hired. Susan Ford was hired under a special category that only existed for 1 year. Interpreter. Oh. What kind of interpreter? Oh gosh. Major expenses, office reimbursement, presidential office reimbursement, 5-piece flavor development, $10,000 a month, $52,000. Edward Roottrees retirement party, $7,500. Christmas tree bash, $7,500. New Year's Eve ball, $7,500. That honestly feels like not a lot of money for how much money they had for a party. Travel expenses, Australia, China, France, Brazil, $190,000. New flavor piece development, butterscotch, $10,000. Caviar, $10,000 a month. 4th of July spectacular, $7,500. New Year's ball, New Year's Eve ball, $7,500. Jeez. Volatility continued. Many new employees didn't tend to stick around for long. The following changes were recorded. Oh my gosh. Hired. Moved to office staff. No longer employed. Hired. No longer. Oh, he got kicked out really fast. Well, kicked out. We don't know. Corin Schwartz and Beatrice, no longer employed. Hired. No longer employed. Because we don't know if these are relevant until later. Hired. No longer employed. No longer employed, but Emily Barnes is now, okay, she got married. We'll find out. Gwyneth Madsen is no longer employed, but Gwyneth Cattrall has now, right, she got married. No longer works in this department. Major expensive. New flavors, strawberry, whatever that is, butterscotch, caviar, New Year's Eve ball, 4th of July spectacular, Christmas tree bash, 2 other new flavors. Another, oh well, that's the same thing. Flavors, New Year's Eve ball, party. Grandorf Dove. I'm looking that one up for sure. That just feels important. Okay. Guy Hudson died in May of 1982, so the first few months of that year continued along the same pattern as they had been. Things quickly changed when Ernie took over. Most of the extraneous expenses ended, and all of the secretaries, most handpicked by Guy Hudson, were let go. Sam Madsen left Roottrees in 1984, so this is the last set of books you have access to. The following changes were, I thought we were gonna get some books, were recorded. Ernest replaces Guy. Carl Roottrees joins as special management. Susan Ford got fired. Ernest Madsen no longer works here. Douglas Rosenberg rehired. Angela, Linda, and Catherine no longer employed. From here on out, no secretaries are directly employed by Roottrees. Roottrees instead uses a temp agency called Work Time Temp. Okay, we're looking that up. Yeah, because they kept having affairs with the freaking people, so they stopped doing that. They started hiring somebody outside, so you couldn't be like, I want that one, and get with the people that you were hiring. Victor Logan was hired. Stuart Todd, no longer employed. Amy Sutton was hired. Sam Madsen, no longer employed. Oh my gosh. Major expenses, canceled. Canceled. All the new flavors, canceled. New Year's Eve ball. Fred Gleason's 50-year work anniversary bonus. Root. Clothing reimbursement. Carl Roottree. Right. Okay, only one clue from here. Probably work time temp. All right. What about this? From 6 pieces at prodigy.us to genealogy genie at prodigy.us. Okay. Cute. We're gonna look these up too, probably. Hold on. Oh, shoot. I'm taking my notes. Because I realized in the last 2 episodes or so of the Roottrees Are Dead, I didn't really use my notes at all. So, sorry about that. This is all the information I have about Regina Clementine, Nee Salazar. Like, does Nee mean like, that's her maiden name? Let me look that up. Yes, Nee means a woman's birth name or maiden name. So, let's go over here. Regina was born a Salazar. Boom. From New Orleans, Louisiana, New Orleans, and her husband Stuart. Okay, yes. So, yes. Oldest Stuart had a wife named Regina Salazar. Okay, cool. She wrote me about a month ago. Apparently the Roottrees lawyers went after her since then. By the time I received her letter and called her, she told me she couldn't cooperate anymore. That's the one Sam was talking about who the company got to first. Her husband, who was a police officer, and never knew his father, told her he thought he might be a Roottree, but he's estranged. Oh my gosh, okay. Stuart, gotta put him down now. Stuart Clementine was a police officer. Father, potentially Miracle, I think. Is it? Yeah. Okay, but he's estranged from his family and didn't want to pursue it because he had no proof. She wrote to me behind his back. Normally I wouldn't be so sure, but she had some pretty credible facts. Some of it I've been able to confirm. Stuart's mother was named Mary Beth Clementine. She was pretty well known in the 30s to 50s. A singer who went on tour to a lot of churches. Right. She was a singer, right? And that's how she met Miracle. You can look her up online, and she was a pretty big proponent of adoption. I know for a fact that she came to Butler County a few times. I remember her from when I was younger, and Regina said that Stuart told her that they always seem to spend a lot of time with the Miracle Church. Yeah. She sent me a photo to prove that she's who she says she is. I've attached it to this email. Okay, the book is out now. Please consider saving a tree and not printing this email. Well. Okay, so tell me to look up Mary Beth Clementine. Was it like this? Or Mary Beth was connected? Mary Beth Clementine was a singer most popular in the years between 1942 and 1959. She traveled around the country performing at churches. Her repertoire was a mix of religious and popular songs, and although she recorded a few records, they seem lost to time. The only one you find mentioned was a cover of He's Got the World in His Hands, released under the label New Edison. Okay. Wow, there's a lot of things to look up. Like, actually so many things to look up. Boom, and then... Oops, I should have went to this. Terms. One thing Mary Beth was known for was her adoptions. She listed on many sites that mentioned adoption about the history of adoption. She adopted 2 children in the late 1940s, Stuart and Mark. She also spoke as an advocate for the benefits of adoption in front of the United States Congress in 1949, who were convening to debate about and discuss the then recent first adoption of an African American child to a white family in the United States. Wow, that was only in 1949? Wow. She was specifically there to detail her experience going through the system to adopt Stuart. Her other son was adopted later, and according to a signal line on one adoption site under unusual circumstances. In 1959, it surfaced that Mary Beth had been twice divorced, both times to her manager Sterling. This ended her career with the religious audience she had been catering to, and while she performed occasionally since then, she mostly faded into obscurity. Mary Beth passed away in 1994 at the age of 76 to a stroke. Okay. So Mary Beth married what was his name? Sterling? I don't know if that's relevant. We might have to look him up later. She adopted both of her kids? I thought we said she had an affair with... She's lying. She's lying! Maybe. We'll find out. We'll find out if she's lying. I'll get to the bottom of this nonsense. Okay, let's see if we can look up Regina. Oh wait, we could also look at Mary Beth Clementine in the periodicals. Nope. What about anything else? Oh, Butler County Times. Mary Beth Clementine came to Butler County a few times and played religious hymns at the Miracle Congregation Church. She mentioned 2 times, so the first visit from 1949 was significantly more substantial. Miracle Congregation welcomes Mary Beth Clementine with open arms. The article mentions that the church leader was moved when he heard Mary Beth's recording of one of his favorite hymns, His Eyes on the Sparrow, and reached out to her personally. Okay, well, there's a lot of things to look up, sir. And you need to stop. His Eyes on the Sparrow holds a very special meaning to me. As you know, I've had a very difficult upbringing, and it's no secret about that my own eyes have always been a source of struggle. The song is about, oh yeah, he has one eye. Or had an eye patch on. The song is about overcoming sadness and hardships through Jesus. If God can find a way to watch over every sparrow, he can certainly watch over those made in his image. My family's fortune does me no good as a man of the Lord. It's much better spent spreading his word, and I've felt a kinship with Mary Beth ever since I heard her voice. When I learned her personal story, I knew I had to help her in whatever way I could. The Bible is full of adoptions, from Moses to Esther. Spending your life taking care of those helpless to themselves is incredibly noble. She and her son are welcome to stay in our guest home. The second visit was a few years later, in 1953. The article mentions that her first visit was a massive success, and at the insistence of Miracle's congregation, she'd returned for an encore performance. It also mentions that the unusual circumstances of her second son's adoption had prevented her from touring recently, but doesn't clarify. Wait, so is the second son or the first son Miracle's child? I don't know. Mary Beth Clementine was reviewed and advertised many times in Modern Music Monthly, but the most popular recording was the release of her cover of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. It was released under the label New Edison. I think I wrote that down. Yeah, I wrote that down. Okay. Modern Music Monthly has a very positive review of her cover, and the writer complimented her voice and the tone of her guitar. The review had nothing to say about Mary Beth herself, so it's not of much use to your investigation. There were also some other Mary Beth Clementine releases that appeared over the years. One of them was The Old Rugged Cross, which is the only song that was advertised but not reviewed. Well, you know we're looking all that crap up, so just so you know. Let's look up Stuart Clementine. No, is that how you spell his name? Wait, did it say the other kid's name? Hold on. Stuart and Mark. Mark Clementine. So let's look up Mark. There you go. Okay, Crocodile Clementine is listed on a website titled The Infamy List. It's a massive list of criminals who are known for odd crimes. Oh. Although Mark's nickname would imply he hails from Florida, a lot of others on the list come from there, or Australia. Mark is listed as coming from Los Angeles. He has a pretty big entry. He seemed like a real piece of work. There's a very small note about him being the basket baby of 1950, but most everything else comes from his adulthood. He lost his job in 1975 as a pilot for a regional airline after he tried to board the wrong airline's plane. He was drunk. He was then charged with trespassing and assault. In 1982, he was arrested for transporting smuggled animals over the Canadian-Mexican borders for an illegal reptile supplier in Los Angeles. He was apparently quite successful for the first 4 years, but he was caught when he had to make an emergency landing in Portland after he was bitten on the foot by a crocodile, hence the nickname. Okay. Apparently, the Portland Telegraph is credited as having given him his nickname. The Portland Telegraph... Hold on. Let's look that up real fast. Yes! Okay, new periodical. Let's go back. Hold on. We'll come back. His mugshot from this incident has been added to your photos. In 1993, he was released on parole, but his freedom didn't last long. He was arrested in 1994 in San Diego for violating it in an attempt to visit his daughter's graduation. He famously punched the principal, a man named Billy Sims. The incident received national press. Okay. So, Billy Sims, we're going to look up. We also need to write down Crocodile Clementine. I'll put him down and I'll just put under there that his name is Mark Clementine. Sorry, someone's car alarm was going on outside. I really hope you can't hear it. I hope it stops. Hold on. Miracle's son had a son named... or had a daughter. Okay. I think the car alarm stopped now. We'll see. Let's go look at this guy. This is Mark Clementine, who was arrested for smuggling reptiles to the United States. Okay, so Miracle. Wait, what year was that? It doesn't say. In 1982, he was arrested. He was a baby of 1950. Okay, so he was born in 1950. So the affair would have been here. So this is Miracle, I'm assuming. Which makes sense because if Elias is in here, he'd be back here. And then he had an affair with someone, or Mary Beth, presumably. Mary Beth, and her maiden name was what? Presumably. We may have to change this and it's all wrong. Regina. Oh, we don't know her. No. Wait. Mary Beth, she had a wife, or a husband named Sterling. Was Clementine her husband's name or her name? Probably her husband's name. Sterling something. Clementine. I'm presuming. Possibly. And then they had an affair. The youngest one was Mark, the youngest kid. Mark Clementine, I think. Oops. Right? And then he was he was a criminal. Maybe we can look him up in the freaking article. He lost his job as a pilot, and then he became, is there a criminal in here? Doesn't look like there's anything like of that sort. But we'll figure out, maybe we could figure it out later. And then this was Stuart Clementine, who married a Regina Salazar. I don't know. We'll see if all that checks out. We'll have to figure out who he was later. All right, we do have, this is Mark, and then this is Stuart. Boom. Do we know anything about what Stuart did? I don't know. Let's look up Mary Beth Clementine again. See if we got anything new. Nope, but we could look up Mark Clementine because he's for sure in that new article. News Time. Billy Sims. Oh my gosh, okay. News Times did a small piece about a fight between Sims and a crocodile. But that was the principal? They tried to approach it from a different perspective. Their goal was to paint a picture of the two men involved from others who knew them best. Not only did they manage to interview Sims's wife Carla, as well as multiple staff members at a school, but they hunted down Colleen Webb, Mark's ex-wife. Oh no, Colleen Webb, Mark's ex-wife. They got divorced. Okay, hold on. This is going to be a lot of information. I'm probably not going to use half these names. They're throwing in red herrings intentionally, I think. Colleen Webb was Mark's ex-wife. You can at least put her down though, because they got divorced. Oh, but are we gonna need Sim and his wife Carla? I don't know. According to a section with Colleen, she and he met when he worked for an airline. She was in an airport newsstand. He was a drinker and would often had wild mood swings. When he was charged with assault on a fellow pilot in 1975 and lost his job, they divorced. At the time, she was pregnant with their second daughter, and she felt she needed to get out before things got worse. She left him and moved to San Diego to live with her sisters, and told her oldest that her dad had to fly planes for the army. that her dad, so she had 2 daughters. She raised them both by herself, and although she never went through the trouble of changing their names legally, they used the Webb last name so that nobody would connect them to her ex-husband. Okay, so Mark Clementine, right? This is him. He had 2 daughters. I don't want to have a long list. Had 2 daughters. I'll put it here. 2 daughters who both have the last name Clementine, right? Because they took his name, although they use her last name, which is totally fair. And then this would also be a child that's in this list of people. Okay, and then we can look up this. The Portland Telegraph was the one that provided the nickname Crocodile Clementine and has some details about Crocodile Clementine's first major arrest. He was flying weekly between Los Angeles, Juarez, and Vancouver in a small plane. His flights were very low, literally under the radar. He was only caught because he was bit by a crocodile on the leg and had to call in a mayday because he was losing blood. He tried to tell them that he was a crop duster who somehow cut his leg on a loose piece of metal in the cockpit, but his story seemed very odd, and controllers quickly alerted the police without informing him. When he landed, they were waiting, and he was promptly arrested. Okay. I mean, he wouldn't have been a pilot, because he was doing illegal stuff. Maybe that's just his last, legitimate job. Yeah, we'll put him there, because, they wouldn't count him like a criminal. So we'll just put him there. Okay, and his kids are, probably grown up now at this point, so... Yeah, we can't really place them. These, oh my gosh, it's a lot, right? Because that's, forever and a day away. There you go. Okay, let's look up the rest of them in here. Stuart, nope. What was her name? Mary Beth? Mary Beth. I think we looked these up. Yeah, but she has a lot of songs we could look up. Look up Regina. No, we looked up Stuart, and then Mark, we looked up everything we've had. Oh, oopsies. Okay, let's start looking up the terms that came from this. Let's look up that, I guess. I don't know if this is gonna help me at all. That's just a song title. Nope. New Edison, potentially? New Edison Records. It seems that New Edison Records and Modern Music Monthly had quite a lot of overlap. There are countless advertisements for various covers of popular songs, and they all start to blend together. When you scan the results for anything other than an advertisement, you do find a very brief blurb from when New Edison was sued by Edison Records. By the time the magazine had covered it, it seemed like the lawsuit was settled out of court and New Edison was destined to be shut down. The owner, who went by Sterling Edison, said he'd like to create a new record company, but there's no evidence anywhere that he did, and that was the last mention of him in MMM. Sterling, right, someone got with a Sterling, married a Sterling Edison. I don't know if this, oh, actually it does. Sterling Edison up here. Sterling, oh, Edison, right. And so Mary Beth Clementine was her last name? Because did she adopt them after they got divorced? And she was a musician. Mary Beth, right here. Is that what happened? And they got her last name? Who are you? Are you her husband? She adopted her children in the 1940s. She was a singer from 1942 to 1959. She had been twice divorced by her manager. Right, because she was with her manager while she was popular. So she adopted her kids after she was with her, but they have her name. Or maybe they were born with the Sterling last name. Oh, see, okay. This is tricky because you can really mess with the last names now. Maybe both of these were born a Sterling, or an Edison. Sterling Edison were born with their father's last name, and then, that doesn't look like him. I think that's probably her husband. But then when they got divorced, they took the mom's last name later. So maybe they'll go to Edison. I don't know. I don't know if we got Mary Beth's maiden name. But I mean, if she was famous, you typically keep your birth name, right? When you get famous, even if you marry. And if she doesn't want to be attached to her managers, they don't want people to know that you're attached to him. So maybe she was always a Clementine, but that doesn't mean her kids. I don't know. But that doesn't look like Miracle at all. He was a preacher. He would have been, I think it's her manager. So I think that's her husband or her ex-husband. All right, Sterling Edison. Oh. Edison Records was a large company with many different releases over the years. There's a ton of mentions in Modern Music Monthly, but none of it is relevant. Anywhere else? Nope. Let's look him up in the spider search. New Edison was a small record label based in Los Angeles that existed a few years in the 40s. It raced to release cover records of songs that were gaining in popularity. According to a website about the history of recorded sound, it was named after its founder, Sterling Edison. Its biggest claim to fame is being sued by the estate of Thomas Edison in Edison versus Edsel. That might be relevant. We'll find out. Probably not, but we'll see. You also find references to New Edison and Mary Beth Clementine and sites about old records. One collector says that the Holy Grail is a release of the Old Rugged Cross. Okay. And says that the first edition was originally published before she legally changed her name. Right. Another site claims the police had to be called to New Edison Records after its owner, Sterling Edison, got into a physical altercation in public, leading to a divorce. There are no cited sources or evidence, and the site's content seems user-submitted. There's an email address at the bottom and a phrase, "Send me your stories about old Hollywood and I'll add them to the page." So she did change her name. Was that before or after she adopted her kids? And did she give her kids the Edison last name? Don't know yet. We'll figure it out. Okay, let me make sure I went here and wrote down everything. Okay, lots of things. Let's look up this first. Edison Records. Right. There's a lot of things to look up. Edison Records was one of the first record labels named after Thomas Edison. The history of the company seems very unimportant, except for potentially a lawsuit they filed in 1949, Edison Records versus Edsel. Is that what I just wrote down? Yeah. A website about lawsuits mentioned this as a fun case because the name of the lawsuit was actually the biggest problem for the person being sued. A record producer who called himself Edison was immediately outed as not actually being named Edison. Oh my gosh! Edsel was a German last name, and at the time of the founding of the company, the US was at war with Germany. The company's founder immediately settled to try to get the case to go away, but the damage was done. So his name was actually Edsel. Oh no. See this? But is that who we're talking about? This is gonna be messy. Oops, I didn't mean to go out there. Wait, what is that box? Can I go in here? No. I got a nice little jacket. This is gonna be a lot. Like, am I looking at all this stuff, but is it even like relevant? Is it even relevant? Because what's the point of knowing his last name? Oh, to know the kids' last names. Oh, so then you probably, or maybe just because you want to know everything. Okay, let's look up this first. Nope. Spider search it. Edison Records was one of the first record label. Oh, this is just to know Edison, who was sued by Edison Records, but actually his last name was Edsel. Okay, so they may have gotten the Edsel last name, potentially. 1, 2. I mean, if I could know his job, we could find out if what their last names were and swap them around. Okay, let's go looking into the other. We've looked up that gave us what we needed. We looked up New Edison, I'm pretty sure, and everything. So let's go that away. His eye is on the sparrow. Let's look this up. Okay, that was what we found it on. Oops. His eyes on the sparrows are a religious hymn. It has been covered over the years by many artists, so it is not likely very relevant to your search. The premise is that the singer realized that they should not feel discouraged or despaired by their troubles, as God is watching over every creature. If God can watch over and love something as small as a sparrow, then the singer knows that God is also there to watch over them. Okay. Cool, but not relevant to my search. The old oh, I did that twice. This one is probably relevant though. So let's go look this up. Oops. Oh, popular hymn. You won't find much relevant information. Never mind. What about in here? I don't trust you. Oh, Mary Beth Clementine released the old rugged cross for New Edison, and it was advertised quite a few times. When it was first reviewed by the magazine, however, it listed the artist as Mary Beth Quaker, right? And they said it was released under her maiden name. So where the heck did we get the name Clementine from? Quaker. Where the heck did the name Clementine come from? Where on earth did the name Clementine? She just made it up for her like country vibes. Okay. But Miracle, I guess. Oh, Miracle we have. I gotta put him in here. Miracle Root Tree, and he's a preacher. I don't know why I never put that in here. Miracle Root Tree, he's a preacher. Who's locking in? Miracle, Mark Clementine, Mary Beth Quaker. Okay, nice. So Regina, Colleen, Sterling Etzel. That photo. Booyah! Nice! I feel like, knock on wood, we're making a lot more progress earlier on in this than we were in Roottrees Are Dead. Maybe I'm like realizing how the game works better now. Nice. We got all their relatives though. You had 2 kids, and also this is your bonus photo. Nice, 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 nice. Now at least I know this is you because your wife was Regina Salazar, so. Nice, so she gave them her stage name. Which I guess you are allowed to do whatever you want. Okay, let's go. This was some of the emails that Sam gave us. So let's look up this. Nope. Nope. I figured this wouldn't be anything, but I wanted to check. Nope. Nope. Okay, so we can move these away. Last time though, the Chris Rafferty at La 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 worked for us. Okay, work time temp. I don't remember what that was, but we can look it up. Nope. Spider search. Work time temp is a company with many offices all over the United States. The Roottrees Candy Company is listed on our site as one of the companies they do business with, though it is far from the only one you recognize. As far as you can tell, there's no connection between work time temp and anyone on your search, okay? And this was like they gave a grant donation to this at some point. Oh. Oh my gosh, it's a long thing. Grandorf Dove was a school for the deaf near Butler and was regularly listed in the archives with other local schools. The Butler County Times archives included what seemed like an endless list of snow cancellations, extracurricular activities, and weekend events that began over 70 years ago and stretched into the last mention in 1990. Amongst the avalanche of useless information, you almost miraculously discover one useful article. Grandorf Dove was at the center of a crime article from 1982. It seemed that someone defaced the school and vehicles outside of the brand new Hudson wing of the school. There were multiple broken windows, and one of the teachers' cars was painted with profanities and accusations of infidelity. Uh-oh. A week later, a follow-up article provides more details. There was one arrest, Thomas Hughes, who was coincidentally a former student of the school. Okay. So we'll look up you. We'll put you there, and we'll look him up in the terms as well. Apparently, the destruction came weeks after he married the school's newest teacher, Mrs. Hughes. She was not a teacher when he went. He graduated a few years earlier, and he took her last name, which is interesting. Okay. According to the reporter's investigation into the police records, trials, and restraining orders, Mr. Hughes was convinced that he was not the father of Mrs. Hughes' current pregnancy. He was released on bail and the school has agreed not to press criminal charges after an agreement was made to pay for the damages and for the couple to begin the divorce proceedings. It seems that Thomas Hughes, Mrs. Hughes, and the Hudson wing have all avoided further appearance in the Butler County Times. Okay, so I shouldn't look that up. But it could be in other sections of it. I don't know. Thomas Hughes and Mrs. Hughes. Okay, she might have... 1982. A crime article in 1982. 1949. Down here, 1982, final affair. Okay, so this might be the Hughes. I'm assuming they're in order. We'll find out. Thomas Hughes. I'm glad I looked up that article, or the Tom Horf, whatever, the Grandorf Dove, the school. That's the same thing. Was he in any other ones? Nope. Look up Thomas Hughes though. Wait, I should go back and make sure there's nothing else I can look up here. I mean, Mrs. Hughes. She was a teacher. She's got with her student. I don't care if she's graduated a few years ago. I don't care. Nope. But Hughes, I mean, she would have been a teacher. I'll just put that there for now. What? She's not a teacher? Educator? Principal? I mean, oh, did she upgrade to a principal? Wait. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll see if that has any relevance later. Thomas Hughes. We'll just put that he potentially got cheated on by a teacher with Guy Hudson in 1982. We'll see. We'll see. All right, what else can we look up? We can start going in the Hudson wing. Did I already look that up? I can't remember. Ooh, ha ha ha, found you. The Hudson Wing was an expansion to Grandorf Dove, now Grandorf School for the Deaf, first built in 1982. It's a separate, much smaller building half a block from the main campus and operates as a smaller independent school that offers free ASL courses for the family members, friends, and caretakers of deaf children. I wonder where you got that money from. Guy. According to their history site, they got their name after the president of the Roottrees Candy. Oh. Guy Hudson. Oh, right, Hudson. According to their history site, they got their name after the president of the Roottrees Company generously donated $250,000 toward the construction of the building. Right, I knew that was suspicious. There's also a very vague history section that you can somewhat fill in with details from the information, or the other information you've seen about the school. It mentions that she learned ASL from the main school before the Hudson Wing even existed to surprise her future husband who was deaf. After realizing how useful a service like this could be to non-deaf people that wish to better serve those with hearing issues, she convinced Roottrees management to invest in the school. The Hudson Wing opened and she became the first teacher at the new campus. At first, it only operated on weekends, but since then, it has added afternoon classes on some weekdays. Okay, but you don't say your name. What's your name? What's your name? She must have had another occupation later on in her life that we're going to have to find. But Hudson... Maybe we can put... No, not Hudson. Hughes. Maybe we can put him there for now. And this, I don't think, was in any of the periodicals. Nope. Okay. But the affair partner just did work at Roottrees at the time, and who knows when? So that's probably going to be when we come over to here. And when she got hired, Amy Sutton, it could be any of these people. Interesting. Okay. What else should we do? I wonder if you can ever look up like Mark Clementine Kids. Does that ever help you with anything? Oop. Well, not if it's capitalized, but I don't think it's case sensitive. I've never tried to like look up stuff like that. I guess not. But we got pretty far with here. This has to be Elias. I wonder if we can look up Elias. There's an older version. Okay. Elias and Gwyneth were never really celebrities, but the general public's perception of them as classic faces associated with the Roottrees Candy Company had always been in somewhat high regards. This was Elias's intention as a family man with his family brand. Since Six Pieces, the candy company has placed much less of an emphasis on Elias's historical brand connected figure. Right, well, yeah. It is a controversy, but there have also been those who have argued that it was his right to decide how to split his inheritance and that he did nothing wrong. Not if you make the Clan-Set trust and you're very clear about it's all blood relatives. No. And also, if you're just gonna be like, yeah, all my relatives, except for those that are gay or black or from another country or, all these things. No. No. This has led to some heated this has led to some heated television exchanges and countless op-eds. The first Anderson Maple Farm only used to be a popular tourist attraction during the summer months when it had special tours. Should I look up that? I don't know. However, it has since seen an expansion of off-season business as some religious and political groups decided to visit to show support for Elias and Gwyneth's traditional values and financial rights. Ugh. So we should look up, we should look this up because, yeah. This rise in support was in turn followed by pickets from gay rights activists when some particularly inflammatory organizations made their pilgrimages. Amongst all this conflict, the farm has since shut down seemingly indefinitely. The website says check back later, but has no date listed. The quotes from Bess Williams' books appear to have been taken down. Okay, let's look up Anderson Maple Farm. Okay, this is the same thing. Okay, but what about in the periodicals? Nope, not been updated. Okay, what about Gwyneth? Gwyneth Roottrees? That's the same thing as before. No, has been updated. She is only mentioned in the relevance to her husband. That's evil, but I think this is probably Elias. Why are we mentioning him a bunch? Oh! Welcome, Tex. Thanks for upgrading your Cashew PC to Nuts OS 1.1. This upgrade includes thousands of bug fixes and enrichments. Your system should be more stable and smooth to operate. Here are some of the highlights. Your computer is now ready for Y2K. We recommend setting it down on New Year's Eve just in case. Yeah. Everything turned out just fine. Also, is this any different? This welcome page? No. Okay. Okay, now let's go look into the, I don't know. The terms we took at the very beginning, like Antonelli's, that was about Joanna though, I think. So I don't know if that's going to do anything. There's a large number of Antonelli's restaurants, not because it's a chain, just because it seems to be a common name for Italian restaurants. You may need to use a more local research if you're looking for a specific one. Okay, got you. Don't worry. Antonelli's is an Italian restaurant and it has been in the Butler County Times twice. The most recent time was when it was closed in 1992. The owner, Rochelle Zimmer, sold the land the building was on, and at the time of the article, she was unsure if the restaurant would move to a location or if she would retire. Many years before that, there's a puff piece from Valentine's Day 1978 that asks recently married residents of Butler County how they met. Christine Garland. Wait, Christine Farrow married and became Christine Garland. Oh my gosh. She and her husband Steve, who is a chef at Antonelli's, met years ago when she delivered produce for her mother's farm. Steve used to work extra hours just to be there during her deliveries. Although they grew apart when the restaurant switched suppliers, they reconnected by chance and eloped at the end of last year. Now she has a bun in the oven and they're both working as much as they can. She's a secretary, but went back to delivering produce on the weekends, trying to save up money to move to Boston and open their own restaurant. 1992. Oh, wait, no. There's a puff piece from 1978. Recently married. 1978. That would fit in here. So Christine. Oh, Christine might be relevant then. Dang. Okay. So Christine is probably one of these girls, potentially. So let's look her up. Oh my gosh. Christine Garland, but her husband's name was Steve. Hold on. Oh, wait. Right here. Oh, I'm screaming. I'm so sorry. Husband. That's how I'm doing it. Named Steve. Okay, so let's look her up then. Let's look up her maiden name first. No, let's look up all of it. Nope. Nope. Christine, I spelled it right? Farrow, yeah. Garland. Nope. But maybe Steve. Was it Steven or Steve, actually? Nope. Steve. Okay, Steve Garland is mentioned in a couple of articles. The first was an article about how he met his wife Christine, who when he worked at Antonelli's. The second is from months later, in September of 1978, a listing for his weekend cooking classes, Gourmet for the Groovy. Okay, writing that down and putting it in terms. The blurb mentions that he's been giving lessons from his home kitchen for the last month so that he can keep an eye on his son. The third was from 1991 and is titled Local Author Sued by Former Butler County Resident. It seems that a local author by the name of Mark Zimmer was sued by Garland after Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales on television. Okay, we'll look that book up. His recipe book was partially plagiarized from the recipes that Steve Garland would give his students during his cooking lessons before he moved. The article mentions that although recipes are hard to copyright, Garland accompanied each recipe with a short fiction about how he learned it. These usually doubled as a way to remember certain ingredients. Garland's bean salad, for example, involved making a trade with a gnome for some magic beans. Oh, apparently these stories were found word for word in Zimmer's cookbook. Well, you can't do that. In addition to additional stories that follow the same format. Okay, so we'll look up you, sir, potentially, and then we'll look up his book. Kitchen Tales by Mark Zimmer. Oh, no copies available, re-released as Garnishing the Truth, and the entire description of this book, according to the library system, is a recipe book that contains stories, but those stories are probably relevant, so let's find it out. Oh, could the author publish under a different name? Bro, I don't know. The only other mark we have is this guy, but I doubt he did it. We'll just check just in case. Obviously not, but maybe it was re-released under the guy who actually freaking wrote the... Hold on. Who actually wrote it? Steve Garland? I don't know if that would be anything. That doesn't make any sense. How it would be re-released as his book. Oh, never mind. The introduction of this book is a series of acknowledgments from Steve. The first is, Christine, thank you for everything. Your support means the world to me. You're the apple of my eye. The second is to James and Robert. You're becoming amazing men and incredible chefs. I guess I'm a good teacher. Final is to Mark Zimmer. You proved my storytelling approach to recipes could be popular. Without you, this book couldn't exist. There's also a foreword by Mark Zimmer. I first met Steve in 1978 when he taught a cooking class. The next time I saw him was over a decade later when he was suing me for stealing his recipes. Yes, really. So you might wonder what I'm doing in this introduction. Well, it turns out that Steve and I had more in common than we thought. Instead of settling it in court, we settled it at McCarran's brew house over a game of darts. They said that they'd give us the first drink of the night free for an entire year for mentioning them. By the end of the game, he and I agree we'd both rather make a ton of money together than spend a ton of money on lawyers. You stole! It's pretty rare to meet your best friend so late in life, but when I decided to retire, I moved to Boston just so we could hang out. So if you're browsing this book in a bookstore, please buy our book. We need more money from when the free brew runs out. The bookstore could probably use a sale. Okay, what? You were the one that stole things. Okay, but you had two kids named James and Robert, so one of them had two kids. I mean, it's probably... Oh, no, this is, the Hughes? So, are you guys over here? I don't know, but Steve, we'll put him over here. We don't have him yet. Steve... Okay, Christine... I mean, maybe we'll put it here. Had two sons... named James and Robert. Okay, let's look this up. So much going on. This is so involved. McCarran's Brewhouse is a pub in Boston, and they have a website. Apparently the bar has been around a long time. On the site, there's a list of famous people who have had a drink there, including former President of the United States, not of the Roottrees Company, Kennedy. There's also a few listings of television shows and books that have mentioned McCarran's, as well as how they came up. One of them is Garnishing the Truth, which the site has this to say about. Local and regular Steve Garland wrote a book about food. We prefer cocktails, but he gave us a shout out, and we ain't gonna say no to free press. So grab a bite at his kids' joint Friday, and then swing by him to meet him for a drink. Oop, 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 oop. Somebody had a Friday. Friday is a fairly popular... Oh, wait, hold on. I should look at McCarran's Brewhouse, though, in the periodicals, and then go to Friday. Hold on. I forget to look him up on both. Nope. Okay. So now we can go to Friday. It's a fairly popular restaurant in Boston. They don't have a website, but many locals seem to mention them in various places. One more in-depth review explains that it's not a full restaurant, just a front door and a very small interior with a window. Unusually, the restaurant only serves vegetables, but a lot of reviews say that in spite of that, it's delicious. You also find a short story about it listed on a website called My Boston Homepage. Whoever runs the page seems to just link to random sites related to Boston, tell personal anecdotes related to Boston, and give their relatively short opinions on things in Boston. It's very unorganized. It had this to say about fried eye. Wicked overrated. I saw it in Chef's Signature, so I went and there was a huge line and they didn't have a single meat dish. What's even the point? Periodical, you think? Yes, Chef's Signature is a magazine related to food and trendy restaurants. They cover subjects all over the United States. Okay, let's do fried eye and the periodicals first before we do that. Chef's Signature. Oh! Chef's Signature covered fried eye less than a year ago, right around the time you were doing your initial investigation. Each article in Chef's Signature tends to focus on a restaurant, and like the magazine's name implies, each restaurant lists the one main dish that the head chef is known for. Fried eye's signature is a samosa cone. The cover and main article have been added to your evidence. Oh my gosh. Okay. Write this down. I feel like I'm trying to make sure I'm getting everything, but I feel like I'm missing some things. That's okay. Let's look up this too. Let's put that in our notes to look up later. Okay. Let's go to this. Oh my gosh. Sitting down with the Garlands, new boys in the Boston. Yay! 1998. Okay. Chef's Signature, a nationally published magazine targeted towards fans of unusual restaurants, featured James and Robert Garland on the cover of the November 1998 issue. According to the article, the two brothers own a small walk-up window in Boston called Fried Eye, a play on the tie-dye shirts that the servers wear, that exclusively serves vegetarian dishes. Most of the offerings are heavily inspired by the powerful spices found in Thai and Indian food. Their signature dish is a samosa cone, which from a distance somewhat resembles a traditional ice cream, complete with waffle pattern. Instead, it contains fried potatoes, pureed peas, carrots, and a special ginger-based sauce. Robert, who is 3 years younger than James, so let's look up Robert Garland, because he has a full name here. Put him in terms, or people, He has a older brother named James. Potentially, one of the brothers is potentially Guy's child, or maybe multiple of them. Right, Christine and Steve Garland's kid. So, because if this is the Hughes, I'm presuming that this is the Garlands. I presume. We'll find out. Because if this is them in 1998, they're old enough to it was 1978, right? Do you have a lot of affairs back to back? I don't know. We'll find out. Robert, who is 3 years younger than James, jokes that although the age difference has left him delegated to wear the sous chef jacket his whole life, he doesn't mind. As a result, James answers most of the interviewer's questions. James credits his love for food and his culinary skills to their upbringing. Most kids hate vegetables growing up, but they don't have parents like we did. My father was a chef, and my mother grew up on a farm that supplied his restaurant. That's how they met. On the farm? Oh, well, that supplied his restaurant. I don't think so. Never mind. That's how they met. I don't have any memories from the farm or anything like that since we moved here before I could even talk, but they told me stories. My dad's a great storyteller. He even wrote a book that partially helped fund Fried Eye. Yep. When he moved, they were looking to open their own restaurant together. Unfortunately, they never got it off the ground. His line cook gig ended up being less temporary than he'd hoped, and she had to go back to work as a secretary even after Robert was born. Before we were old enough to go to school, we spent our days with my aunt. In the diner where he worked, my dad had no room for experimenting, so he'd exercise his skills at home on his day off. We'd always go shopping and cook as a family on those days, and even though we were hyper kids running around and causing a ruckus, those were some of our family's favorite memories since we were all together. Mom always had the eye for the best vegetables for him to work with, and she did her best to pass that on to us. According to the article, their parents, who are now retired, visit Fried Eye often. They even have a signature dessert, the Sistine apple. Looking that up too. Apple pie has always been my mom's favorite, and my dad always had this stupid line he used to make her laugh involving apple pie. Most people realize it's a Sistine Chapel pun and assume that's all there is to it, but it's actually secretly named after them, sort of. Okay, well, we're looking that up. Man, these are really like deep dives. You like go so deep into this information on this one. Hey guys, sorry to jump in here. This is actually Kayla from the future. I actually recorded most of this game all at the same time, so my intros and outros might feel a bit jarring, but anyway, in the next video, we're gonna start by looking up the Sistine Apple and hopefully learn more about the chef's kids, those 2 boys and their parents and what that affair was. But yeah, anyways, sorry to just jump in here and scare you like that, but if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys!